In this wildlife adventure, I travel 650 kilometres out of Adelaide to one of South Australia's picturesque locations, the beautiful Gawler Ranges. So join me as we encounter many varied and diverse creatures, both big and small, in this rugged and often hostile environment.
G'day all. Last time I was in the picturesque Gawler Ranges was in autumn. However, a new visit and a new season. It's now spring. With the temperatures warming and the days becoming longer, I'm back in search of more amazing wildlife, from birds, bugs and reptiles to the many kangaroos that call the Gawler Ranges home.
An Australian icon and an emblem of Australia, the Red Kangaroo, not only Australia's largest species of kangaroo, but also the largest marsupial on Earth. Found across the entire Australian continent, red kangaroos prefer dry, arid areas where they have evolved to be specialists in surviving Australia's harsh climate. The red kangaroo can go long periods without needing to drink, conserving water through such abilities like resting in the shade during the day, meeting moisture requirements from plants, and having specialised kidneys which reabsorb water from their urine. Red kangaroos are prolific breeders, with a mature female usually permanently pregnant. Female kangaroos also have the ability to slow or stop development of an embryo until the previous joey has left the pouch. This ability is known as embryonic diapause. Inhabiting the same area are the Euro, or otherwise known as the wallaroo. With many of the same characteristics as the red kangaroo, including reproductive traits and water-conserving abilities, Euros are often confused as red kangaroos. However, there are distinguishing features that separate the two, with the Euro having a more upright stance, a black nose, a thicker, longer coat, and more rounded ears compared to the red kangaroo. As indicated in this picture, the red kangaroo on the left and the Euro on the right. From the Australian icon that is the red kangaroo to another Australian icon, the emu, both taking pride of place on the Australian coat of arms. And like the red kangaroo being the largest marsupial in Australia, the emu is the tallest bird in Australia. This one with chicks at feed is a male bird. The male bird takes all the parenting responsibilities, including incubation and raising the chicks, with the female basically going her own way once the eggs are laid, even to possibly wander off and mate again with a totally different male bird. Often seen on roads soaking in the sun's rays are shingleback lizards. I've always known these rather large members of the blue-tongue family as stumpy tails or sleepy lizards. Either way, its name is fitting. The shingleback for its rather large robust scales on its upper back and tail, stumpy tail because of its thick short stumpy tail, and sleepy due to their slow moving, often docile habits. Mulga parrot, a female looking down elegantly from above. Like many of the Australian parrot species, these birds are perfect examples of sexual dimorphism, with the male mulga parrot being more vibrant and colourful compared to the dull, less colourful female. Preferring dry and arid areas of mallee or mulga scrub, they are ground feeders, foraging for seeds and berries on the ground. White-browed babbler, a bird which spends the majority of the time on the ground, where it forages through the leaf litter for its varied diet of insects, fruits and seeds. With a relatively thin, long, downward pointed beak, white chest, white brow, which is where it not only gets its common name from, but also its scientific name. Pomastostomus superciliosus. Superciliosus is Latin meaning for eyebrow or above. Variegated fairy wren, a male of the species, easily identified by his vibrant, almost neon blue crown and chest. These are the colours of a male in full breeding plumage. The striking colours of the male bird in stark contrast to the very plain looking female. Variegated fairy wrens are sprightly birds, which at times can be difficult to see, as they rarely venture out into the open, preferring the shelter and protection of densely covered vegetation, bouncing, hopping and darting in and out in search of insects and seeds. Rufous whistler, a male. Rufous is often used in a bird's name and describes the bird's colour, as it means reddish brown in colour. Foraging high in the tree canopy is this yellow-plumed honeyeater, in search of nectar, lerps, honeydew and insects. Can be an aggressive bird which will defend its territory if necessary. Yellow-rumped thornbill, this one with a grub in its beak. It must be on the way back to the nest to feed some hungry chicks. Master of camouflage are the tawny frogmouths. This one sitting on a small flimsy nest swaying in the breeze like the branch it's attached to. Hearing its hooting call the previous night, I knew it would be in close proximity, and after some searching through the scrub I came across it sitting quietly. Sitting on its nest made of small sticks on the fork of this tree. It's amazing how this small flat nest can contain the eggs, stopping them from rolling off to the ground below. As you can see, tawny frogmouths blend in well with their environment, even thinning their body and neck, pointing their large robust beak to the sky in order to pretend they are a branch. Tawny frogmouths are nocturnal, resting during the day beneath a canopy of trees, coming out during the night to feed on insects, small reptiles, small rodents and frogs. Yellow appears to be the predominant flowering colour, and this yam daisy is a perfect example. Attracting many insects to gorge themselves on the spores within this vibrant yellow flower, such as this saltbush blue butterfly. The top side of the butterfly's wings doing their best to reflect the sun's rays back to where they came from. The gleaming colourful iridescence is produced by multi-layered thin film structures on the butterfly's wings reflecting light. If you look closely you can see the butterfly's straw-like tongue called a proboscis, curling and uncurling as it pokes it into the flower to drink the sweet nectar. Also coming and going from the yam daisies are these native bees, navigating the flower's internal structures to load itself up with as much pollen as possible before flying back to the nest to offload. These tiny bees are very important to our ecosystem, playing a crucial role in pollinating Australia's native plants. A master of camouflage and an insect I would never have seen until its slightest movement amongst the leaf litter caught my eye. A gumleaf grasshopper, still in its adolescent and immature stage called a nymph. With 3 stages to a grasshopper's life cycle, it has obviously already hatched, and well into its nymph stage, soon to complete the 3rd, metamorphosizing into an adult grasshopper, developing its wings and reaching sexual maturity. Appearing like it's covered in sand, coupled with the grasshopper's prominent arched crest of the thorax, leading to its tapered abdomen, gives it a gumleaf shape, which enables it to be extremely well camouflaged while it's in its natural habitat of the forest floor. Gumleaf grasshoppers are herbivores, feeding on eucalyptus leaves that have fallen to the ground. A large male Euro, digging around the topsoil for any lush vegetation. A number of lizard species cohabit in the granite outcrops, with a multitude of cracks and crevices where the lizards can dart into at the slightest sign of danger. The Peninsula Dragon is just one of these lizard species, like this one, a male. Perched high on the rock, at first I thought it was sunning itself. However, as I watched on it started to display some unusual dance-like behaviours such as head bobbing, push-ups, tail curling and wave-like motions with its front feet. Not knowing what was happening, however I soon realised once the Peninsula Dragon jumped off the rock. Its gestures becoming aggressive when it appeared face to face with a second Peninsula Dragon. when, staring each other down face to face, mouths wide open, a short scuffle broke out. After a few rolls around on the granite outcrop, it was over as quick as it began, with the prevailing Peninsula Dragon signalling his victory, with some push-ups and tail curls of his own, while the contender retreated to lick his wounds. With both parties now going their separate ways, I have a strong suspicion as to what the fight was over. On the rocks nearby, these lizards, female Peninsula Dragons, and given the numbers, more than enough to be shared around. Peninsula Dragons are only found in a small geographical range in South Australia, located only on the Eyre Peninsula and adjacent interior areas, including the Gawler Ranges. With the sun set, it was a warm night in the Gawler Ranges. This, coupled with the artificial light of the camp, attracting all sorts of guests from the insect world. Insects of all types. This one a gumtree shield bug with a hitchhiker on its back. Plus the many moths of varying shapes, patterns and colours. Clinging to a velcro tab, meticulously cleaning its very long antenna, is this green lacewing, scraping off any particles with its forelegs before disposing with its mandibles. Although small at around 12mm, its body parts seem out of proportion, with its long slender abdomen, long slender antennae, large compound eye, and those large transparent vein-filled wings. Despite the large wings, the green lacewing is a relatively weak flyer. Looking like some predator from deep space is this ichneummonid wasp. From deep space it may not be, but a predator it is, and a gruesome one at that. Maybe not in the sense of predation, as this wasp has another deadly secret. This wasp belongs to a family of wasps which are parasitoids. This means they lay an egg in a host insect or an insect larvae. Once the ichneummonid wasp egg hatches, it then, while the host is still alive, consumes the host from the inside out. The majority of insects flew into camp, but this one caught my eye as it walked in. Its striking metallic colours shimmering in the light. Check out those bulging purple eyes and those ghastly large curved mandibles, evolved to grip, bite and cut its prey. Inspired by the tiny visitors to camp, I head out into the darkness to see what other creatures of the night I can find. Coming across this rather hairy caterpillar, resting during the darkness before awakening to gorge itself on any leafy goodness. And just like the caterpillar, this wanderer butterfly, awaiting the sun's warm rays to bring it back to life. Grazing in the safety of the spinifex grass are these native brown millipedes, feeding on the decaying matter under the cover of the night sky. With more than 6 legs, the millipede is not classified as an insect, and with 2 pairs of legs per body segment, the name millipede is misleading, as this species only has 62 legs, and yes, I've counted them. The 62 legs all working in unison to effortlessly propel the millipede forward or backwards. Just imagine the mechanics. Millipedes haven't been the only creatures crawling around the leaf litter. You might have caught a glimpse of these tiny blue-oaked mites. Even the millipede's legs dwarf the mite. Spiny-tailed gecko, another striking creature around the safety of the spinifex grass, actively out hunting. Its patterns are amazing, draped across its slender body, and check out that amazing marble patterned iris and the vertical slit of the pupil. Well adapted to hunting in the darkness, the southern spiny-tailed gecko is extremely sensitive to light. And with the bright artificial light of the torch, the pupil has constricted, which is why it's barely visible, looking like a vertical slit in the centre of the eye. As with most species of gecko, the southern spiny-tailed gecko do not have eyelids, so need to lick their eyes in order to keep them clean and moist. As it slowly walks back into the safety of the spinifex grass, it is difficult to see, especially with a blade of grass in the way. However, as the name suggests, the tail is topped with tiny spines which become more prominent towards the end. an encounter that topped off a great night in the field. So as I head back to camp to revisit the day's findings and attempt to get some much needed rest, the excitement and the potential which follows the rising sun fills my head. However, I feel like I no sooner close my eyes before the early calls of the bird life awaken me and I'm up enjoying the amazing sunrise and more beautiful wildlife. Another day brings more amazing wildlife. Around the campsite is this yellow-throated myna, the most widespread of all myna bird species. Found across the entire mainland of Australia, and just like all myna bird species, very territorial and aggressive towards other birds. The black and white bird that is the Australian magpie, surveying the land from the treetops, melodiously calling with its familiar warble. Australian magpies are ground feeders, foraging for insects and other invertebrates. The beautiful pinks and greys of the galah, the most common and widespread of any cockatoo species found in Australia. A spectacular pair of Australian ringnecks. The female sizing up a prospective nesting hollow, continually checking out the multiple entry points, possibly to see if it's already taken or safe to enter, as I guess you don't know what's hiding in the darkness of the depth of the hollow. All while the male bird intently watches on. With the temperature rising, the lizards are starting to appear, and around the rocky outcrops there are many, like this tree skink. And despite the name, it inhabits both hollows and rocky outcrops such as these ones in the Gawler Ranges, inhabiting a wide range of environments in semi-arid and arid areas of Australia, with the many rocky outcrops of the Gawler Ranges making a perfect habitat, as there seems to be one around every corner, darting in and out of the cracks and crevices strewn across the granite outcrops. It's these same granite outcrops which hide another lizard species, the Gidgee skink, an unusual and to me prehistoric looking lizard, mainly due to its relatively short spiny tail. Very wary about straying too far from the safety of its rock crevice. This may be its best defence against predators, as that spiny tail may be more for show than protection. Like many of the lizard species, the Gidgee skink are omnivores, which mean they eat both animal and plant material. And when I say animal, I mean mainly insects. I have never seen one of these in the wild before, so it was a great experience to watch and study it for a period of time. Spiny-cheeked honeyeater, one of Australia's many species of honeyeater, and one that is widespread across Australia's mainland. Unsure about me being in its territory, as it's sounding its alarm call with its sharp tock. Australian pipit, this well-camouflaged ground-dwelling bird foraging for insects and seeds. One thing which stands out on this trip into the Gawler Ranges are the quantity of emus. They seem to be prevalent out in the Australian bush. A female white-fronted chat, with some sort of insect in its beak, easily identified as a female due to its brown markings. A pair of banded lapwings. These birds are ground-dwelling, preferring open areas which made these ones easier to spot. I noticed this pair reluctant to stray too far from where they were first seen, so I decided to sit and watch for some time. As I intently watched on, I noticed one wandering closer, foraging along the way, putting me and the camera lens under pressure to try and keep up with their fleet-footedness across the dry grassland. When all of a sudden, with a little shimmy, it sat on the ground, on closer inspection, and to my surprise a nest, with 4 well-camouflaged eggs, so best to leave them alone and not disturb them any further. Out hunting in the evening sun is this brown falcon, Australia's most common species of falcon, found across the entire Australian continent. This bird of prey prefers grassy open woodland and farmland, where it can easily scan for prey from a high perch before silently gliding down and snatching its prey. The brown falcon's prey can consist of small mammals, small birds, and large insects. Being almost brown all over, this brown falcon is a female bird. It's not only the colour that gives it away, as female brown falcons are larger than male birds in most ways, including body size, weight, and shoulder width. This female, which will soon be joined by the male, who hasn't been far away this entire time, watching from a distance, not letting her out of his sight. As you may have noticed, this is the male brown falcon, with a wider chest and lower body, and its smaller stature compared to the female. Even the step is said to be different, with the male bird being lighter and more nimble-footed. So this brings me to the end of my amazing encounters with so many spectacular wildlife here in South Australia's picturesque Gawler Ranges. So with so many kangaroos and euros encountered, I thought it was fitting to end this video with the biggest euro of the trip, this massive male. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like to see more nature-based content. Thanks for watching.